My parents sent a text. "Please don't come. There'll be important people here." I didn't reply. Then my grandma rang in a panic. "Sit back and enjoy my latest story. There's a fire-resistant lockbox in the trunk of my Subaru Outback. Plain gray steel with a combination dial. $47 at Lowe's. It's been riding there for 4. Growing up with no money teaches you to count, not mathematics. I'm talking about knowing exactly how many days are left until the power gets shut off, and whether the single chicken in the freezer will last until Thursday. My mom, Gail, drove a school bus in Kankakee, Illinois for 31 years. Still does. Route 14, the long loop that passes the grain elevator and the Dollar General. My dad was a pipe fitter. Gentle, quiet hands. He died when I was 19. Aortic aneurysm in the Menards parking lot while he was picking up something. To this day, I can't step inside a Menards without my chest tightening, which is annoying because their prices are honestly pretty decent. When my grandmother Adele Carmichael passed 2 years after Dad, she left me $127,500. That number was her entire life. 40 years of coupon clipping, nursing a Buick LeSabre until the transmission died twice, and faithfully putting $200 a month into a credit union CD like it was scripture. The estate lawyer, Phil Ostrak, a man whose mustache looked like it belonged in a 1970s cop show, sat me down and said one thing that only made sense 13 years later. "Keep this money traceable, Stephanie. Never let it vanish into somebody else's pile." I was 21. I nodded like I got it. I didn't. But I followed his advice because when a 60-year-old with that mustache speaks with that kind of weight, his name was Connor Bellingham. He doesn't deserve a pseudonym. We met at a friend's wedding in Naperville when I was 24. He was a groomsman. I was at a table poking at cold chicken marsala, debating whether I could slip out before the bouquet toss without looking rude. He slid into the seat beside me and said, "You look like you're plotting your getaway." I answered, "I already have the route. I'm just doing the cost-benefit on this chicken." He laughed. A real laugh. Or it felt real. I'm less convinced now. Connor was a regional logistics coordinator for a freight company in Romoville. Sounds fancy until you realize it mostly involved yelling at truck dispatchers about pallet quantities. He leased an Audi Q5 for $687 a month. I know the exact figure because I eventually saw every statement he tried to conceal. He drove a car he couldn't afford to a job that didn't impress the people he wanted to impress. But he had straight teeth and held doors open. When you're 24, your dad is gone, and your mom mostly communicates in sighs. A man who opens doors feels like divine intervention. We dated 2 years, married at 26. By then I was an underwriter at Piedmont Mutual in Plainfield, basically paid to study people's lives, their numbers, their habits, and calculate how much they might cost the company. The irony will hit you soon. The Bellinghams. Let me introduce them properly. His mother, Judith, 63, retired from running a real estate office. She complimented you in ways that left fingerprints. "That dress is certainly bold. Your place is so intimate." She once called my potato salad intriguing, using the exact tone people reserve for describing multi-car pileups. His dad, Warren, was a retired IBEW electrician. Solid pension, soft-spoken. Warren wasn't cruel. He was just married to Judith, which meant he'd learned 40 years earlier that nodding was simpler than fighting. I got it. I didn't admire it, but I understood. The Bellinghams weren't wealthy, but comfortable. 2 paid-off houses, a boat they took out maybe 3 times a summer, and strong opinions about everyone else's money. Judith had one unspoken grievance about me, louder than anything she ever voiced. I wasn't Paige Rutherford. Paige, Connor's college ex, now a pharmacist. Her dad a dentist in Wheaton. Her mom owned a boutique selling $40 candles. Paige's family had a summer home in Wisconsin that was really a cabin, but they called it a summer home. And to Judith, that label mattered more than air. I came from a bus driver and a deceased pipe fitter. Judith never let me forget it. Not once in 8 years. The first 6 years weren't terrible. I need to be fair here. If I make Connor sound evil from the start, you won't buy it, and you shouldn't, because people don't begin as monsters. They're charming over coffee and vicious by supper, and you spend the whole time wondering if you misheard. We bought the house in Plainfield 6 years ago, a 3-bedroom colonial on Lockport Street, listed at $338,000. I put down the full $127,500 from Grandma Adele's estate. I remember the closing vividly. Long table in a title office that smelled like photocopier fumes, signing 47 pages with a pen that kept drying out. Connor signed twice, both names on the deed. Only one of us brought $127,500. I kept every paper. Settlement statement, wire confirmation, Phil Ostrak's disbursement letter. They live in a manila folder between car insurance and dental records. I'm the person who actually reads the terms and conditions. All of them. I'm a riot at parties. For a while it felt stable. Connor was mostly present. We had patterns. Saturday farmers market in downtown Plainfield. Sunday dinners at the Bellinghams that felt more like quarterly performance reviews. Judith would arrange cloth napkins and ask questions she already knew the answers to. "How's the insurance business, Stephanie?" As if she were interviewing me for a position I'd held 6 years. The first real fracture was the kitchen. March, about 18 months ago. I came home Tuesday after work. Grocery day, Jewel Osco on Route 59. And 2 guys were tearing out the countertops. I stood in the doorway holding frozen tilapia and bananas, watching strangers dismantle my kitchen. Connor walked in behind me and said, "Surprise." Surprises are delightful when you're the surpriser. When you come home to find your kitchen gutted, it's not a surprise. It's an attack. The remodel came to $28,400. Sub-zero fridge, marble counters, new backsplash, cabinet redo. Guess whose idea? Judith's. 3 weeks earlier at Sunday dinner, she'd stared at our perfectly fine Formica like it had insulted her ancestors and declared the kitchen dated. Connor, whose backbone turned to damp tissue around his mother, agreed instantly and paid from the joint savings without a word to me. That account had held $63,100. After the kitchen, $34,700. I noticed because underwriters check balances the way other people check the forecast. Every morning with coffee. When I saw the drop, I set my mug down very deliberately. I did not throw it. Give me points for restraint. "Connor, where's the $28,000? "My parents will reimburse us. Mom promised." "Your mom promised." He called me dramatic, said it was an investment, that Judith would pay it back. I asked for the promise in writing. He looked at me like I'd demanded a notarized kidney. "She's my mother, Steph. I'm not asking my mom for a receipt." 7 months later. Gorgeous kitchen, 0 reimbursement. I raised it twice. First time he pivoted to his nephew's soccer schedule. Second time he said, word for word, "Can you stop being an accountant for 5 minutes and just be my wife?" I didn't answer. I went upstairs and re-alphabetized my filing cabinet. 2 hours. Color-coded tabs. Then came the 4th of July. The Bellingham's annual barbecue. Warren grills, Judith directs. Everyone acts joyful. That year, Paige Rutherford was on the guest list. Judith placed her directly across from Connor. I'm not jealous by nature. I'm an underwriter. I deal in data, not emotions. Emotions are noisy. Data is clean. the data that night was troubling. Connor refilled Paige's wine 3 times, laughed so hard at one of her remarks that he touched her arm. Judith observed with the serene contentment of a chess master, 3 moves ahead. I drove home silent. Connor hummed to the radio. I did not. While he showered, I checked his phone. I know what that says about me. I know it's not my proudest moment. But when your husband hums after flirting with his ex at his mother's orchestrated party, you look. You just do. The texts with Paige began that night at 11:47 p.m. Great seeing you tonight. His reply came at 11:48. 1 minute. I timed it because that's who I am. When I text him for milk, average response is 3 hours 14 minutes. I have records. The messages weren't graphic. No love declarations, no meetup plans. But they were cozy, too regular. Miss our talks. We should do coffee. You always knew how to make me laugh. I checked twice more over the next month. The pattern held. Then I stopped looking. Not because I trusted him, because I had enough data points to see the direction. More points wouldn't change the destination. I mentally closed that folder and opened a new one. What now? My neighbor Bojana Kowalczyk, 71, retired postal worker from Poland, spent afternoons in a lawn chair on her porch, quietly cataloging the street. She knew when the Hendersons replaced their mailbox, when the kid 3 doors down started drums, the exact day the Olsons' for sale sign appeared. Bojana was better surveillance than any doorbell camera, fueled by coffee and interest. One Tuesday in September, I was at work when she told me over the fence on Saturday while I weeded. A man with a clipboard had walked the property, taken photos, measured near the garage, left in a white Chevy Malibu. You know about this, Stephanie? I did not. Inside, I searched Connor's personal Gmail. He hadn't changed the password yet. There it was. A completed appraisal from Apex Valuation Group, dated September 12th. Our house, $441,000. Connor had ordered it, never mentioned it. Same as the kitchen, but you don't appraise a house for fun. You appraise when you want to know what half is worth. I sat in the spare bedroom a long time, ceiling fan clicking, the one I'd asked him to fix in April. Click, click, click. Connor wasn't merely unhappy. He was planning his escape, and he assumed I was clueless. I closed the email, cleared the history, went downstairs, cooked dinner, baked chicken, roasted broccoli, bagged rice. When Connor got home, I asked about his day. Fine. Good. We ate. He watched ESPN. I did dishes. Perfectly ordinary Tuesday. Inside my head, a spreadsheet was quietly assembling itself. Here's what outsiders miss about the Bellinghams. Judith wasn't just mean, she was deliberate. The Paige invitations, the countertop insults, they weren't random. She was constructing a narrative in Connor's mind, brick by brick, year by year. I was less. He deserved better. He'd had better once. Her name was Paige. After the appraisal, the remarks sharpened. Judith dropped Paige into every conversation unprompted. Paige just made pharmacy director. How wonderful. Paige's parents are updating their Lake Geneva place. So elegant. Paige brought the most stunning pecan pie to the church sale, from scratch. Every Sunday. Paige. 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 Like an advertising campaign where the product was a woman who wasn't me. Connor nodded. Sometimes smiled. In 8 years, he never once said, "Mom, stop." Never once said, "My wife is right here." He let it rain on someone else's car. The Paige texts kept coming. I know because my friend Denise, claims adjuster, the type who'll run a Google background check on your Tinder date before the appetizer arrives, pulled the phone bill. Not content, just volume. Connor texted Paige's number 8 to 12 times a day. For comparison, he texted me maybe twice. Usually, what's for dinner? Or running late. Peak romance. I started a timeline on a yellow legal pad from the office depot on Caton Farm. Dates, transactions, conversations, message counts. Not because I had a full plan yet. Because I'm an underwriter. When data points one way, you don't ignore it. You log it. You build the case until the image is sharp. Denise said I was eerily calm. I'm not calm, I told her. I'm compiling. Same difference. Phil Ostrak, the mustache lawyer, had retired to Sarasota, but his voice still lived in my head rent-free. Keep this money traceable. I had. The $127,500 went straight from probate to my personal First Midwest savings, sat untouched 3 years, then wired directly to the title company for the down payment. I had the wire proof, the estate letter, the bank statement, the closing disclosure. Every cent had a paper trail so pristine you could serve dinner on it. In Illinois, if you read the statutes like I do, when traceable separate property funds go into a marital asset, the contributing spouse can claim reimbursement before any marital equity split, especially when the money was never mixed. My $127,500 was traceable like a neon sign. Connor's name was on the deed. Yes. Connor's money was not in the down payment. Not a dime. The leftover estate funds, roughly $89,300, I'd placed in a Schwab brokerage account in my name only. Never touched by him. Never discussed at Sunday dinners. I keep money matters private, not because I'm sneaky, but because I've learned that what people don't know about your finances, they can't judge. And Bellingham judgments about money were as plentiful as oxygen and twice as choking. I needed a lawyer. First one came from a coworker, Rick Tenholder, family law in Joliet. I took a half day, told Connor it was a dental appointment. Rick was polite, took notes. I left feeling I'd finally moved. 3 days later, Denise called. What was that lawyer's name? Rick Tenholder. Why? I Googled him. He's in the Plainfield Rotary Club. And? Warren Bellingham is in the Plainfield Rotary Club. My stomach didn't plummet like in movies, just dropped 1 floor too fast. I sat in the Piedmont parking lot staring at the wheel for 5 minutes. Rick and Warren probably knew each other. Golf outings, charity pancakes, VFW breakfasts. In a town of 64,000, Rotary means phone numbers are shared. I just told a stranger my plan to leave Warren Bellingham's son. I never returned to Rick. I don't know if he ever mentioned me to Warren. For 2 weeks I barely slept. Every time Warren called, because he called to discuss literal weather, I froze. Was this normal? Did he know? Was he probing? He wasn't. I know that now. But those 2 weeks aged me. Denise found Mariella Vega, small Joliet firm, far from the Rotary crowd. Mariella was 46, had an ironic RBG photo on the wall, wore reading glasses on a chain like a movie librarian who also crushes in court. I liked her instantly. I brought the full stack: estate papers, wire confirmation, closing docs, joint statements, Denise's phone bill printouts, my yellow pad timeline, the secret appraisal. I laid it on her desk like evidence at a crime scene. She reviewed it silently for 12 minutes. I timed her, then removed her glasses, let them dangle, and said, "Your husband is about to have a terrible year." I didn't grin. Okay, maybe a tiny one, the kind that might frighten small animals. Mariella explained the play. The $127,500 was clearly separate, perfectly traced, never commingled. In divorce, I had a strong claim to reimbursement before splitting remaining equity. House appraised $441,000. Mortgage $196,200. Equity $244,800. Reimbursement $127,500. Marital equity left, $117,300, split 50-50, $58,650 each. My total from house, $186,150. Connor's, $58,650. Connor expected $122,400. He was short $63,750. That's not pocket change. That's a new roof. People always ask why I didn't confront him. I considered it daily. Every radio hum, every page pie mention, every late-night notification. I wanted to slam the legal pad on the marble island, the one I paid for, and say, I know it all. But confrontation feels good for maybe 4 seconds, then hands the other side prep time. I didn't want him prepared. I wanted him as blindsided as I was when I walked into a demolished kitchen. So I kept building. One night I made 2 lists. What I could control, what I couldn't. The second list was short. That helped. Mariella asked for 8 to 10 weeks. Proper filing, strategic timing, ironclad disclosure requests. I could wait. 8 years with the Bellinghams. 10 weeks was nothing. I went home. Connor was on the couch with SportsCenter. I poured cinnamon cereal, the expensive kind, and sat at the marble island thinking, savor it. It's the priciest thing. Denise tagged along once, ate a granola bar while I sorted folders. Normal people in divorce cry and eat ice cream, you know. I ate ice cream last Wednesday. Half-pint Talenti mudslide. Then updated the spreadsheet. While eating ice cream? Efficient. She stared. You're terrifying. Coming from a woman who's seen people torch boats for claims money, I took it as high praise. The box grew. Mortgage docs, copies, Adele's estate letter, First Midwest Wire, 6 months of statements, Schwab quarterlies, $89,300 untouched, Mariella's card tucked in like a placeholder. Every time I opened that trunk and looked inside, I felt clarity. Not rage, not grief, just focus sharpening like an old TV antenna finally tuned right. Yes, that dates me. I don't mind. Then the brokerage account broke. Mariella wanted current statements from every joint account. Checking and savings were simple. Online, print, highlight. But Thursday night, Connor at rec league basketball, 35-year-olds reliving college then whining about knees for days, the Edward Jones password failed. Every variation. Anniversary, birthdays, childhood Beagle Baxter. Nothing. Connor had changed it. The login screen blinked at me. I shut the laptop before deciding to. Walked to the kitchen, opened the Sub-Zero, stood in the cold blast 30 seconds. Sometimes the most expensive appliance doubles as therapy. Ate 3 string cheeses. Called Mariella. She said he'd done us a favor. Now she could subpoena the records. A judge seeing one spouse lock the other out of a joint account during suspected concealment? Bad optics for Team Connor. She ordered paper statements from Edward Jones. 11 business days. I counted every one. Underwriters count. It's occupational and personal. The lockbox gained a yellow pad note. Date. Time. Exact error message. Evidence isn't only what you discover. It's what someone tries to block. 2 weeks later, Denise showed me her phone at work. Your mother-in-law posted on Facebook. I quit Facebook in 2021. It was making me dislike people I used to merely tolerate, and I wanted to tolerate them quietly. Denise, however, breathes Facebook. Judith's post, dinner party photo at the Bellingham house. Connor there. Paige there. In my usual chair. Caption. Wonderful evening with family and dear friends. I was neither. Apparently not even present. Connor had told me he was helping Warren fix a garbage disposal. I later confirmed it worked fine. Denise asked, "You okay?" Adding it to the file. Not what I asked. I know. I closed my eyes 3 seconds. I'll be okay. Just need to finish this. Lunch break. Drove to the Subaru. Opened trunk. Opened box. Added printed screenshot of Judith's post. Closed everything. Went back. Underwrote a Bolingbrook dentist's office policy. Came home. Cooked rice chicken green beans. Connor walked in at 8:40 smelling of Judith's lavender downy. I thought, "You were at your mom's with Paige in my seat and came home smelling like her laundry." I said nothing. Washed dishes. Went to bed. Lay in the dark thinking about the lockbox. Almost. We were almost there. The slip happened at Sunday dinner. Early November. My fault entirely. Bellingham House. Judith's pot roast. Annoyingly excellent. Warren's silence. Connor's brother Kyle and wife Laura. Kids tornadoing through the living room. I was eating roast when Kyle mentioned the housing market. He was thinking of selling his Mokina condo. Laura wanted bigger for the kids. Normal chat. Warren on rates, Judith on staging, Connor on equity. I said, "Yeah, at 441 you'd want to," and froze mid-sentence. 441. The secret appraisal value. The one I wasn't supposed to know. Table quiet half a second. Laura scolding a kid for pocketing roast. Kyle reaching for bread. But Connor caught it. His eyes narrowed. Just a flicker. Like a dog hearing an unfamiliar noise. 441. He repeated too casually. I mean Plainfield prices in general. My voice steady, hands not. I hid them. Saw an article. He nodded. 8. Moment passed. Talk moved to Kyle's HOA fees, Warren's property tax rant. Surface normal. But I felt the shift. Like standing beside a microwave right before it beeps. Drove home, jaw clenched so tight I thought I'd break a tooth. Next morning from the Piedmont lot I called Mariella, confessed I'd blurted the appraisal number. She paused, said it wasn't ideal but not catastrophic. Don't give him anything else. I hadn't planned to. Connor had other ideas. 48 hours later, Tuesday, naturally, I checked joint savings over coffee. Should have been $34,700. Was $26,100. Connor had transferred $8,600 somewhere I couldn't see. I set the mug down, picked it up, set it down, went to the bathroom, gripped the sink, looked in the mirror and whispered, "You'll be fine." Sat on the tub edge 20 minutes not feeling fine. Hands shook. Annoying, because I prize precision. Something inside went quiet. Not calm, more like a hard reboot. He knew. Maybe not the lawyer, not the box, not the full strategy. But he knew I was watching. And he was moving money fast. Mariella still needed 2 weeks. I had no 2 weeks of patience left. And now, no $8,600. At 34, I'd already buried a father, survived broke childhood, passed an actuarial exam that once made me sob in a Panera. This man would not break me on a Plainfield bathtub. I called Mariella, reported the $8,600 move, expected worry, got better. "Stephanie," she said in that you're worrying about nothing tone, "what your husband just did is dissipation of marital assets. Moving joint funds to a hidden account when divorce is foreseeable. Know what judges think of that? Bad. Will County family judges especially despise it. They've seen it hundreds of times and they're exhausted. Connor had gift-wrapped evidence. That $8,600 was now Exhibit D. I laughed on the tub edge. Not happy laughter. More like a hiccup-cough hybrid where relief and hysteria meet halfway. His panic had just helped me tremendously. "You writing this down?" Already was. Date, time, amount, account. The uncontrollable list shrank by 1. Mariella sped everything up. 2 weeks became 10 days. 10 days was easy. I'd survived 8 years of Bellingham's. 10 days was a holiday. Lockbox got final items. Savings screenshot with $8,600 gone. Edward Jones paper statements. 11 days later, arrived at Mariella's, showing $41,200. Plus Connor's secret. The night it ended was Thursday, December 5th. Connor walked in 6:15 p.m. I was washing a pot in the $28,400 kitchen. Keys hit marble. Sound I'll never hear again without my stomach twisting. He didn't sit. Stood at the island, arms folded, face rehearsed, like a claimant at my desk with a shaky story. "Steph, we need to talk." No good sentence ever follows those words. Never, "I booked Hawaii." Always bad. Only degree varies. Here's what he said. "I owe you the exact flavor. My parents always thought you were a step down from Paige. Honestly, I'm tired of embarrassing them. I've been thinking about this a long time." Swallow. Look at floor. "I never really loved you. Not the way I should have. Not the way I loved her." Kitchen silent except sub-zero hum. $28,400 worth of hum. He waited. Tears. Scream. Thrown plate. Something to prove I was hysterical and he rational. That Judith was right. I said, "I see." 2 words. Same ones I use at work when a denied claim lands, and the client waits for a fight. "I see" means received, processed, filed. Connor blinked. "That's it? What do you want me to say?" He mumbled about 8 years, expecting more reaction. I corrected. 7 years, 11 months, close enough. He stared. He'd rehearsed a different scene, one where I begged. He walked away heroic, told Judith the Kankakee girl crumbled while pharmacist Paige waited. I didn't crumble. I'm an underwriter. I'd priced this risk 4 months earlier. "Okay," I said. "I'm going to pack a few things." "Steph. Connor, you just said you never loved me in a kitchen I funded in a house I downpaid while texting your ex. What did you think came next?" He opened and closed his mouth like a beached fish, realizing gills don't work on land. I might have pitied him if he hadn't delivered the cruelest sentence of my life 3 feet from Judith's chosen fridge. Upstairs, I packed 2 suitcases, essentials only. Clothes, toiletries, key folders, Dad's framed photo from the nightstand. Nothing joint. 45 minutes. Underwriters pack efficiently. We calculate need and discard excess. Connor hovered in the doorway part way, saying I didn't have to leave tonight. We could talk. I should calm down. Words that would have mattered 3 years ago. Now they fell between us like coins too late to spend. Suitcases went in the Subaru beside the lockbox he never knew existed. He said he was going to his parents for dinner. Of course. Judith always had food ready when her son needed to flee. Pot roast as escape mechanism. He left 7:30. I watched the leased Audi, $687 per month, disappear. At 7:45 called Mariella. Told her he'd said the words. He was gone. I was in the car. She said she'd file first thing. Dissolution petition. Temporary financial restraining order. Reimbursement claim for separate property. Forensic report on $8,600 dissipation and hidden account attached. Thank you, Mariella. Don't thank me yet. Thank your grandmother. Checked into Holiday Inn Express off I-55 near Shorewood, room 214. Set lockbox on desk. Opened it. Looked at every page. Receipts. Statements. Screenshots. 4 months' work beside a free coffee maker and Gideon Bible. Phone rang 9:20. Warren. Stephanie, it's Warren. I listened. Connor came for dinner, said you left. What's happening? You okay? He sounded genuinely lost, which told me Connor hadn't told them everything. Just vague, things didn't work out, letting Judith script the rest. I thanked him for calling, but said this was between Connor and me. Connor should explain what he said tonight. What did he say? Ask him. Silence. Then, for what it's worth, Stephanie, you were always good to this family. I know that. Not from Connor's speech. Not after 8 years of Judith's jabs. From quiet Warren, saying one gentle thing at the worst possible moment. My throat closed. I bit my cheek. Thank you, Warren. Hung up. Sat on the hotel bed. No tears, but closest I'd come in 4 months of spreadsheets and FedEx runs. Cruelty I could take. Unexpected kindness. That was the real hazard. Mariella filed 9:04 a.m. next day. By 10:30, temporary restraining order active. No moving, transferring, hiding, dissipating assets. Connor's secret $14,200 account. Parents helped. Frozen. Joint accounts frozen. House frozen. He didn't know yet. He'd already hired Douglas Breen, seasoned Joliet family lawyer. I'd suspected since the appraisal. You don't secretly appraise and change passwords without advice. Breen probably promised a clean 50-50 equity split. 2:15 p.m. Breen called Mariella. She called me immediately. Breen had seen the filing. $127,500 reimbursement, forensic report on hidden account, and $8,600 dissipation, traced inheritance, appraisal, equity math, Connor's share, $58,650, not $122,400. Then Douglas Breen, veteran who's delivered bad news 1,000 times, said in a cracked voice, "The house, the accounts." My God, what did you tell her yesterday? Mariella. Nothing yesterday. She's been preparing for 4 months. $8,600 hidden. Documented dissipation. Judge would look at Connor like a teacher at a kid caught cheating. Disappointed more than angry. And at such impressive stupidity. Secret account $14,200. Identified. Frozen. $28,400 kitchen from joint savings without consent. Part of dissipation pattern. Connor Bellingham, who 12 hours earlier stood in my kitchen declaring he never loved me, was about to learn the downgrade was the only reason he had a kitchen to stand in. Numbers don't lie. People do. Spreadsheets don't. 3 weeks later, I signed a lease. 1 bedroom in Shorewood, 2nd floor, east windows, 712 square feet. No marble, no Sub-Zero. Kitchen the size of a greeting card with a gas stove that clicks before lighting. First night I sat on the floor, no couch yet, sipping chamomile, staring at a parking lot. Radiator hissed outside. Someone laughed. Real, unperformed laughter. I sat in 712 square feet that were mine, and for the first time in years I didn't have to count anything. Thank you for staying with me through this. It means more than you realize. Another story is waiting. Just click. See you there.